I run our live stream?
Okay.
Our meeting is live. You may proceed. Thank you, LT.
Thank you. My apologies to all of the viewers and to the members of the Interagency Council for being a few minutes late. I'm calling now the Interagency Council for Coordinating Homelessness Programs to order. The time is 11:08 and it is January 9th, 2025. Let's first start our meeting with a moment of silence for one of our colleagues that passed away. As some of you already know, that Vicky Linlau, who was running the emergency rental assistance program at the Department of Administration, unfortunately has passed away. She passed away shortly before the new year, and of course, she leaves behind a son and daughter. She was widowed herself. But of course, many people know her from different roles she's had in the government. She's also worked at the Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve, and in recent years, she's really been focused on helping people that really needed the help during the pandemic. So at this time, I will ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence. May she rest in peace. All right, first up, we will have Rob from the Office of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention. Rob?
Sure, happy to OT. So I'll be doing the updates for OHAPP and for the Guam Homeless Coalition. So let's start with OHAPP. The first thing I wanted to do is remind the public that the Typhoon Mawar Disaster Relief Center, the program ends at end of May 2025. So we're trying to capture all the remaining cases that may be out there for those with unmet needs. Please, you could give us a call at 671-475-2060 or email us at Mawar DRC, Disaster Relief Center. So mawardrc@guam.gov. And this is just the unmet needs. If you have things like documents that were destroyed during typhoon, everything that's resulting from the typhoon, broke some kind of property damage. What this does, it does not pay any type of money for the program, but we will try to create a recovery plan for you and connect you to the services needed. So just with the time remaining, again, end of May, we're trying to capture all the cases by end of March, and then work on those cases through completion of the program. So feel free to contact us or come visit us also at the second floor of ITC building. Other OHAPP updates for the Anigua Apartments progress is ongoing for that. Drove by there. We are still replacing the outside rails for the balconies and other exterior fixes going on there. The bed at night in Tamuning also is Gord's still working on the design package for that. The TFAP program also, we are finalizing the transition from DOE. The couple of things one thing that has changed for the program for this year nationally, the federal poverty level threshold has gone to 300%. So during COVID, it was increased to 400%, but USDA has brought that down now. So this is 300% of federal poverty level. That's still 15,060. So the threshold is 45,180 for income thresholds for that. So if you make that or less, you can reach out to your mayors and sign up for the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which is the food commodities, and those are distributed by the mayors. We are trying to get a monthly distribution going, so we're working with the mayors on that. USDA does have a couple new reporting standards. They just want to make sure that the food is getting out to who is signed up for it. So I'll be reaching out to the mayors and all of the nonprofits who are signed up and receive the food commodities, and we'll talk about these. Since the new mayors have come on board now, we will go through the programs and the different regulations of it. So I'll be coordinating with the mayors and all the nonprofits who receive food for that. And that's about it for OHAP side. I'll move into the Guam
Before you transition to report for Asia on the Homeless Coalition, I just wanted, I know that Public Health is distributing EBT cards for students. So maybe, Therese, can you just let us know again who is eligible, what they should do? I think it's for public school students.
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Yes, currently until Saturday at the Micronesia Mall, GDOE kids, DODEA kids who were enrolled or are new kids, are able, it's a benefit to them. The summer EBT cards, which is a SNAP program, as you know, well, first of all, only schools that are enrolled in the free lunch program with USDA is eligible. So you got DOE schools, DODEA schools. I know that GACS, the charter school GACS, is part of that program. So, Lieutenant Governor, about 30,000 kids are impacted. 20,000 SNAP cards were loaded right before Christmas. Obviously, we all wanted to make sure that that came out in the, my whole thing was, can we get SNAP out in the year that it's in? So it was summer 24 SNAP. So we got that out December 20th, $177 times 20,000. You can do the math. It's about $4 million of food circulating in the economy in December. And I'm hopeful that families bought food so that they have a nice holiday celebration between Christmas and New Year's. However, 8,000 were still outstanding. That's either new students or students that needed cards to be replaced. And so we stood up, Public Health stood up, Division of Public Welfare stood up a program at the Micronesia Mall that started last Friday and will end this Saturday. Monday through Friday, it's from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday it's 10 a.m. to closing, 8 p.m. And so, unfortunately, I've been on the radio yesterday and on the radio Patty's show this morning talking about how we really need to get the word out because of the 8,000, maybe 3,000 folks have come in. And so there's quite a number
5,000 students
still
that
outstanding,
are currently
impacted,
enrolled in schools that participate in the free
that have not received the benefit yet.
That have, and which means that they have to pick up a card. If all the other students that had cards, there were
it was
loads
automatically loaded.
Okay, and that's another, I guess, public.
That's another thing. They maybe they didn't even know, and so we need to get the word out. If you didn't know and you have an existing student SNAP card, you should check your balance because if you didn't know, $177 per child. So, you know, some families have multiple children in the public school system. So that's 177 times 3 kids, some 5 kids or whatever it is, how many kids you have. That's how much food dollars you have, and go out and spend and make sure that your families eat well.
And if they don't have the card anymore, Therese?
Then that's they're part of about the 5,000 balance that need to come in. They need to come in and get a card reissued. And if you're new, like a new student, then you need a card to be issued. So
if your card was lost,
you need to get it reissued.
To the Micronesia Mall also.
Correct. Please come, and I'm asking everyone. I know I see Joe, PDN, and Paulie. I was on his show last night. I was on Patty this morning trying to push. You know, one of the biggest ways to get the word out is through WhatsApps and groups, right? So parent teachers can't, you know, parents who are in other parent groups, please spread the word. If you're, you know, they need to come in. We have up to April for the money to be spent if they don't receive it. After Saturday, after this Saturday, I am contemplating one more weekend, one more Saturday. But after that, you know, I need to contain overtime as well. It's gonna revert back to our offices, which means that a parent that finally comes in is going to have to be part of the everyday other services that we provide. And
So
so
bottom line,
this was
Therese, is
specifically
that
stood up
if you
for
already had a
SNAP.
card, just know that there's been deposits made already for you to
Correct.
utilize them. If you lost your card or you never got a card, come into the Micronesia Mall to see the staff up through Saturday. In the
Correct, and I
afternoon.
just again want to repeat, because a lot of calls, we're getting a lot of calls, does my school, does my child have it? First of all, EBT has nothing to do with salary. So, I mean, I got a call that said, you know, we make a lot of money, but our kids go to public school. I said, what school? They said, you know, a high school, a DOE school. I said, they still get a SNAP card. It has nothing to
So
do. It has
right
to
now,
do
it's all Department of Education schools
all
and
DODEA and all charter schools that are enrolled in the free lunch program. If you
And
are a
if the charter
school,
school does not have the free lunch program, then
then
unfortunately
their
your
children
student
are
does not
not
have.
involved in this
I
SNAP.
gotcha. All right. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Therese. Okay. Any questions for Rob on the OHAP portion of the presentation? If not, we'll move on to Rob to present on behalf of Asia Ramos and the Guam Homeless Coalition. Rob.
Sure. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. So the biggest thing we'll talk about here is the upcoming pit count, which is a point in time count that's going to be happening January 31st. And so we have registration going on right now. That's going to be through the 10th. The goal was to get 275 volunteers. I think as of this morning, there are about 189. So if you are interested in, if your agency has anyone that would like to register, or in the public, if you'd like to register, I think we're going to extend that a little bit more, at least through the weekend, so that we can get a few more registrants, and then we'll start coordinating the training. So the training will happen January 15th, 16th, and 17th at Sinahanya office, Mayor's office. So thank you, Mayor, for letting him do that. And this is not training every day. It's just one day training on the 15th, 16th, or the 17th. And then we will have January 22nd training at the First Church of God in Barrigada. So then for that, we will have on the 23rd, for those who have done the pit count before, we'll have refresher training. And then the 24th, the team leader training will go on. So when you register, online, if you go to GuamHomelessCoalition.org, you can fill out the registration form and fill out your dates that you'd like to attend the training. If you'd like to be a leader, then they'll inform you of the training dates that will be happening there. And then for the 28th, that will be the care bag packaging that we will be having. So up until the 24th. So I guess for the care packages, those are the canned goods. The TFAP program will be donating all those goods for that. We are gathering the bags that we'll be packing for that. And then we are having a hygiene drive until the 24th. So that is products like toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, lotions, things like that. The drop-off points for these for the public, if they'd like to donate, will be the Hagåtña Library. And that will be open 9 to 4 Monday to Thursday. And then the OHAPP office, second floor ITC building, we are open 8 to 5. You could drive up to second floor right outside the door. You can just curbside drop it off, and we'll accept those here. Patrice, you had a question? Go ahead.
The hygiene drive, you said that ends currently going until the 24th?
Correct.
Is that correct? So you're encouraging the public to donate certain items. I just want to say that there's one thing, when I'm fortunate enough to get an upgrade, I have all these, care gifts, bags, and so is that something that you still accept even though it contains other things? Or do you just want the
You're
toothbrushes?
talking about the amenity bag from the
Yeah, the
airlines
amenity bags.
that have
You're
toothbrushes
blessed
and
to get
lotion
an
and all that
upgrade.
stuff. Socks. Rob, will you accept those?
Yeah,
Or do
Yeah.
you want just, because, there's a lot of people that they take it and do
No,
you
I
really
think it's
use?
all, Therese. People utilize the pouches for different things too. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the
you can give them
pouch
out.
could be
The combs, brushes, everything that's in there. Yeah, that'll be fine.
so
I'll-
I
I'll-
encourage
I'll
everybody
check them.
who have stocked up to donate it.
Right.
make sure they're not expired. Okay, Rob,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And so we'll accept all those till the 24th, and then we'll take those to the First Church of God, where will be the headquarters for the pit count that day. On the 27th, and we'll start packing the week of the 28th, and then the next couple days, so that we're ready for the 31st.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
where is exactly that church located?
First Church of God in Barragata is across the Wendy's, or across like that
Oh.
big field that's Wendy's there.
Okay, thank you.
Just that had the biggest parking space, and then space for volunteers to pack and things like that. So we thank
Rob,
Pastor.
can you, while
What?
we on this, can you just kind of talk to us about just give the public an idea about what the pit count is? What do you use the data for, and who are you counting? What are your instructions to the participants?
Sure. So the pit count is a national count that happens on the last Friday of every month. This is from HUD, from the federal side of this. So this goes on in every jurisdiction of the United States on the last Friday of the month. What
The
is
last Friday of January,
January? Yes.
not
Sorry.
every month.
Right. And so this is used to get a snapshot of homelessness for one night in the year for the United States. And these numbers usually go to the calculations for HUD to calculate the amount of money that is granted during the year. So this depends on the need, the inventory count for grants, and it all goes into one consideration for the different jurisdictions for the states and the territories. What else? It goes towards for here. It goes towards looking at the street homeless counts again for Guam. We also include the as non-habitable places, CLTC properties that are maybe tin structures. So we consider those annually here, and then also our shelter counts. So those go towards pretty much also counts for our TFAP program and accounts for that. So on an annual basis, we use that just for the programs and the different needs, financial needs for.
Could you give us an idea, Rob, currently for the continuum of care funds that come from HUD, that some people, of course, think that these are funds that the government is controlling, but I think in this case, the government is facilitating the funds to go to organizations to do certain things. So could you give us a rundown of some of the programs or services that are funded in the current year's program, just for the public to understand what the pit count is related to on Guam?
Okay, so yes, so GURA is the state agency for these HUD funds, and it goes to GURA, and then the coalition, or also known as the Guam Continuum of Care, GURA subgrants to applicants who are in the coalition, or actually anyone in the public who has a nonprofit. And so then these applications are reviewed by the coalition and subgranted from GURA to the coalition. Some of the subgrantees are, we have Catholic Social Services, Guyanimus, which is a domestic violence grant. OHAPP had that for the year, but that's expired. We have West Care, who's doing a couple, I think they're doing the youth demonstration program, and then they also have a Manhali project.
But just, Rob, just briefly, what do they do so people have an idea? Like when you say the program, what does it serve? Like, I just want people to get a taste of or a sense.
Oh, sure. So it's just pretty much housing and shelter programs. We have elderly, disabled population. What else do we have? again, domestic violence programs. And so that's the pretty much what the bulk of the funding goes towards. We have the HMIS Homeless Management Information System that's funded by that, and then also the coordinated entry system that is run by Catholic Social Services. And that is for nonprofits that go out and do outreach. Those cases are put into the system and supposed to be coordinated out to the different nonprofits there.
Okay. All right, Rob, anything else on the from the Homeless Coalition front?
That would be it.
All right, moving now. Any questions for Rob on this? Okay, moving down to DOA. We have Mindy Sanchez from DOA. Mindy?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor and committee for the moment of silence for Vicky. We really appreciate it.
And Mindy, before you start, could you just share with us when is, do you know when Vicky's services are?
Yes, her services are next week, Wednesday, January 15th. It is from 9 a.m. to 12. The viewing is from 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock at Life in the Sun. The memorial service begins at 12:30 and will run until the service completes. But it'll be in Tamuning at Life in the Sun on January 15th.
Thank you. All right,
You're
Mindy, go
welcome.
ahead.
So I'm reporting on ERA's current numbers, and as you are well aware, the Emergency Rental Assistance provides assistance for rental arrears, and utility arrears. To date, ERA has funded 42.3 million in assistance, and that includes rent, electricity, water, trash, and displacement and relocation. We have assisted just over 15,341 households. And we continue to assist applicants on the daily that come in. These are new applicants that have either never heard of the program or have actually applied for the program, pre-qualified, but for some reason or another had disqualified for the program and are coming back because they are still finding themselves struggling since the pandemic. In our current program, we have 261 active continuance applications. Of those of the 261, we also have 110 potential new qualified continuance applications. We find ourselves also looking at 75 applicants that will reach the max cap. That means they will come in and apply for their last continuance, which will be the next 3 months. And then we have in the process, in the queue, also 47 that will also find themselves able to assist of 6 more months of assistance, and then they will have also max capped out of the program. The program is still tracking to complete direct services in June 2025, and then the program will fully close in September 2025, and that's our tracking.
Thank you. Any questions for Mindy? If not, we'll be proceeding to subcommittee's housing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Gura is working, is going to be facilitating a housing summit coming up, and Liz can give us the details of that.
Thank you for that, Lieutenant Governor. Yes, Gura is hosting a housing summit on January 29th. At the Hyatt Regency, and we have sent out invitations. It is limited seating, and we do have a target audience that we're trying to reach with the presenters that are going to be coming from HUD. From that will be like phase 1 of what we're trying to do to mitigate the housing crisis on Guam. After that housing summit, we hope to have roundtable follow-up discussions with all the participants that attend that summit, so that we can really get to resolving a lot of the barriers to housing attainment. And then I did want to report on the soup kitchen. We did have the bid close on January 7th, which was just this past Tuesday. The bid evaluation will take place on Monday, the 13th, and then, they will make recommendations that we will have to present to the board at the next board meeting for the award. So by February, we should have that award out to, whoever wins the bid, right? And then we do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with Father Mike Chrysostomo regarding the soup kitchen operations, etc. Okay. And then with
Just a quick question. And for everybody's knowledge, the soup kitchen was a property that was put up as part of the bankruptcy of the Archdiocese. And Gura, based on its community need, successfully made an offer and secured the property, made improvements to code, and then you pushed that out for bid. So was your solicitation for use of the premise, or are you giving operational funds for this?
No, that's the meeting, and I have Kathy here on the Zoom also. But we did purchase it because we wanted to be able to continue the need for the services that the soup kitchen provides, right? So the meeting we have with Father tomorrow and with Doris, who runs the soup kitchen, we will discuss the operations and how that will happen. But I'm pretty certain that the operation funding is not
that was because even though there was this transaction, everybody wanted to make sure that there was still support out there for those that are utilizing the soup kitchen. Correct?
Correct.
So Kathy, why don't you chime in?
Let me have Kathy speak on regarding the operations funding.
Lieutenant Governor and everyone, the meeting tomorrow that we're starting is to discuss operations of the soup kitchen. It is not assured that it's going to remain with the current or the prior service provider, but they have all of they have all of the information and the experience that we would like to have them share with us. And if it is possible, we would like to make sure that it remains as seamless as possible. There are other organizations who have expressed some level of interest in running the operation, but we're starting with the prior. Now, the terms of our acquisition with the funding that we used does require that we ensure that there is no conflict of interest, and we're going to run that against the regulations to make sure that we're compliant with who can run the facility. There is no plan to provide operational funding. That is going to fall to the operator.
Got you. So you're providing Gura secured for the purpose of having the soup kitchen, which is primarily to provide nutrition support and sustenance.
Yes.
Your rules require you to push that out to bid so that appropriate qualified organizations, nonprofits and such would be able to demonstrate their capacity to utilize the property and then get into an agreement with Gura to utilize the property and have it assigned for a period of time.
Yes.
You're going through the motion. So the point
Right.
to the public is that Gura has secured the property in furtherance and in perpetuity at this point for the purpose of securing and having facility to support the soup kitchen. And now you're going through the legal mechanisms to identify your partner that is going to be operating.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, we will keep
Okay.
it as a Gura property, so it will not, we have no intention to have it change its purpose. Its intended purpose is a good one, and that location has proven itself.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Liz. Anything else on the Gura front?
Yes, I did want to talk about the ART drop-in shelter. The scope of work had some challenges to it. because the layout of that property was a lot more complex than they initially thought. But the scope of work will be 100% completed by tomorrow. And then procurement planning will follow next week. And the invitation for bid will be advertised shortly after. But there's just been so many challenges with the parking spaces, the generator rooms, sewer pump considerations that are needing to be made for the design and build. And when we did have it out for the pre-bid RFP back in August, there was a site visit on the 15th with people that were interested. And but there were no takers for the proposals on September 6th, which meant that we had to go back and take a look at the scope of work and you know, make some changes, even meeting with Rob to take a look at what the functional floor layout was going to be, et cetera. But you know, we're working on it, and after the scope of work tomorrow, we will put it out for you know, advertisement, and hopefully we will have someone that will, you know, be interested in the design and build for that building. But that's where it's at.
Okay. Anything else from Gura?
I think that's it.
Do you think, Liz, do you think you could just, I know that you're still getting the details from HUD, but Congressman Moylan was able to announce an initiative that Gura and of course the administration have been working on, trying to secure additional funds for unmet needs coming from Typhoon Mawar. And of course the Congress was able to appropriate funds to the program, which is a national program, and Guam's allotment and Guam has been given an allotment. Can you just give us maybe some high-level information about what that is, and then maybe what the future holds in terms of the community consultation, and what are the things that are being looked at for funding from the federal government?
The award that you're talking about is the CDBG Disaster Recovery Award. And there was a lot of work after Mawar that went into, you know, HUD is all about data, right? And, you know, Deputy Director Fernando with a team from Gura went out many weekends to make sure that they collected the data that was needed to submit you know, application for this disaster recovery funding. So a lot of work went into it, and you know, getting that huge amount, you know, we're really happy that we received that amount. And of course, there are there's a lot that will have to go into applications. There will be applications that will have to be submitted for the unmet needs. It will be applications for unmet needs that will be in compliance with the you know, eligible activities that grant funding will permit, right? So there's a lot that is possible, but determining you know, what the funding will go into will depend on the applications and what the most the highest priority unmet needs would be. So that's really all I can say until all the, you know, the regulations, et cetera, comes out, and we go through the application process and the public comments that will have to happen from that point.
Great.
But there are a lot
Thank
of
you very much.
possibilities.
In other words, there is a long road ahead, and people can, different jurisdictions do different things based on the situation and guidance from HUD.
Exactly, and you know,
But we are grateful that we have this, just to let the public know that we have been pushing for this even since last year, but the disaster funding that was given to HUD expired, and it took the continuing resolution and the agreement in the last few weeks from the Congress that finally got funding into this program. The CNMI, during their big disaster, was able to receive a large chunk of money that was able to be used for a variety of purposes, including in the CNMI, there was a dramatic number of people that lost homes And I know that there was a housing project or some housing supports that came, but there are a lot of lessons to be learned over there too, because the cost per unit for construction in the CNMI and Saipan was outrageously high. And I know that a lot of federal authorities had been looking at that to make sure that there's a more efficient track for all of the other states and territories that are receiving the funding.
Exactly. And actually before was it before or after Mawar? We had already been in conversations with them regarding disaster recovery, because after they got their award, because we wanted to know, okay, when if we push to try to get some CDBG disaster recovery, what are some things you can help us with in, if we get the award, right? So they've really been very good neighbors in coming out here and actually having meetings with us to let us know this is what you need to look forward to having to get done. The kind of team that you will need to back up what you're going to try and get done. So yes, it's going to be a long road. And the applications will be what will determine, the high priority unmet needs that the funding will go into.
Right. So in other words, long road means that there's still a process ahead, but we can promise you that all hands on deck to ensure that we pick up some time and try and get some projects moving. Okay.
Correct.
Edith, do you have anything from you, Edith, Guam Housing Corporation?
Sir, I don't have any. Good morning and Happy New Year to all the team. But just going back to what Liz had stated, I just wanted to find out would individuals and or families qualify should this become available? I mean, that's, I guess, something that needs to be, because you do have families that don't know. Is it similar to the one that Congressman Moylan was lobbying for back last summer, I think? And then they had to put an end to it because there were too many people that came in, especially in Derrida, that applied. And so they had to put an end to it until they get more money, to my knowledge. And so some people missed the boat, right, in applying for that grant or
I think
for
that's
that matter
a different,
loan.
yeah, no, Edith, that's definitely not
It's not the same.
Not the same, because that was on the FEMA side. But I think the point is people are looking for guidance, especially individual homeowners, whether or not these are program funds that could be helpful to them. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, those are the guidance and details waiting from HUD.
Okay. So at least we know that something of this nature is available. But right now, Guam Housing doesn't have
Although,
anything.
Edith, on the big picture, you will want to take a look at, I know you have certain kind of facilities or rental facilities that are there for low to moderate income families that are, there's always different kinds of possibilities out there. I could probably get your program people razor focused on there's opportunities. Therese?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Edith.
Yeah, I wanna add on the Guam Housing Corporation side, people may know that in the FY26 budget, there was funding that was given to public health to address homelessness, food, and supplies. This is the 37th Guam Legislature's response to homelessness after they did not fund the Office of Homelessness and Poverty Prevention out of the governor's office. And so a lot of things are happening there. And one of the things, knowing that public health's mandate is to address homelessness. I know, Lieutenant Governor, you and the governor are looking at an executive order very soon to actually stand up a division of homelessness and poverty prevention at public health. With that in mind, being proactive, Rob and I spoke, and I contacted Angie Camacho, the housing manager with Guam Housing Corporation, and we immediately secured a house for that's part of the Guam Housing Corporation inventory that's move-in ready for bedroom, 1 bath, that some of that funding can go to. I've asked, and I want to thank Edith and the board, because I believe that was brought on the board, the last board meeting, and it's been approved. So with that on its way, I've also asked Angie to look for a second home so we can separate gender. And so there's a lot of, between the Anigua apartments being done, our efforts with Guam Housing in partnership with Guam Housing, and the bed for the night, you know, that Gura is executing. There's a lot of things that are up and coming to address the homelessness. And so I just look forward to soon, before the end, before the month is up, for that declaration of the Division of Homelessness and Poverty Prevention at Public Health. Thank you.
Thanks, and that's appropriate for your casework side. Also, I know that Public Health is also doing some work on reducing processing times for SNAP applications, and also for Medicaid applications. So could you just give us a little feedback on that? And, you know, maybe we can probably discuss it at the next meeting, but just maybe a high level for the people, what you're working on in terms of poverty prevention and social programs.
Thank you, Governor. So, you know, we are public health and social services, and rightfully so. It goes hand in hand, because people can't take care of their health without making sure that the determinants of health are addressed, which is the services needed to ensure that healthcare is in the forefront of their mind. And so some of those deterrents of health are housing, food, shelter, education, lack of transportation, which kind of like public health addresses in the social service side of the house. And so through the initiative and the signing of Governor Leon Guerrero's signing of our leverage and reuse law that was passed by the 37th Guam legislature, thanks to senators who spearheaded that, we are now well on its way after 20 or 30 years of reforming and modernizing and updating our Medicaid and SNAP processing. So what does that mean? We are using an antiquated system that it's not always the reason, but definitely it's a combination of staff work as well as giving the staff the right tools. And so this is us giving the staff the right tools. So in concert with CMS, which funds Medicaid, and FNS, which I just got off a call with them an hour ago, these eligibility and enrollment system processes are being obtained that is modern, which should reduce the strokes from 800 input strokes to less than 20. Which, what does that equate to? That equates to faster, same day determination of eligibility and approvals. And so this all folds into the fact that we need to ensure, when I came in, that the public health reputation and image of being slow and lack of responsive to the people we serve changes. And so this is all in line with modernizing the tools we use so that we better serve the people we serve. And so lots of heavy lifting, modernization on the Medicaid and SNAP processing system. This is a very big deal because it really is about 20 years overdue.
Great, thank you. Mayor Hoffman, did you have anything to add from your side?
Just that we did a count. So in 2024, we gave 285 homeless verifications. Some of those were families, and then the year to date, we're at 19 verifications for the homeless. And if you have any of those kits, you're more than welcome to drop it here, and we give them. So when they're here while they're applying and getting stuff, we hand them. So we now give them a bottle of water. We give them some food if we have. So we appreciate the TFAP program a lot. And we've actually been hit up sometimes every week by the same persons for the TFAP. So what we did is we asked the community for recycled bags, and they all brought it over, and we fill it up and we give it out to them for that. So it's been a great program. But if you have amenities kits, that's something we do get asked that a while. Shampoos, razors, feminine products. So we have a stock here, but we've been giving it out and replenishing it as we go along. So we appreciate it. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Are there any announcements from any members? If not, we'll go ahead and move to public comments and any questions from the media.
Afade, this is Paulie Suba, Glimpses of
Hi,
Guam. Is it
Paulie.
okay?
Go for it.
Okay, thanks. And I'm not sure if it was brought up, it might have been passed over, information on the Anigua apartment progress, bed at night in Tamuning, on ongoing design. And then I just have a question on the, homeless shelters that are being operated today. Does that include the one in Tamuning, behind Blockbuster, Leheng Sanafu? I know it was operational. I'm not sure if it's still operational.
Okay,
Hi,
so why
Paulie.
don't we go first with Rob? And I think Rob could give you, could be the first source. Rob?
Sure. So that Liheng Sanafu was run by Catholic Social Service since COVID. So that was a non-congregate shelter since then. But funding ran out, and the last day of operation was October 31st of last year.
Of last year. And then the one that Director Liz Napoli was talking about, some issues, is that pertaining to Anigua apartment or the bed at night in Tamuning?
I think it'd be the Tamuning bed at night. As far as the design,
Okay.
and its requirement of a pump and a generator room, those things have to be considered within the structure, the existing structure.
Understood. And then are you able to give me updates on the Anigua apartment progress ongoing?
Sure.
When can we expect it to have a ribbon cutting of sorts?
I think that's still going on. Like I said, I just drove by, and the balcony, all of the rails on the balconies are being replaced right now. So I don't have a date exactly on when all the final things will be done, because there's also a possible solar project going on. But again, that's also pending some specifics of the equipment and things like that. So we will update as soon as possible, when we get a date on that.
Rob, why don't you get a real-time update and send it in through Crystal, so Paulie's got it. But I wanted to add there, casework teams have already been identifying the families that are in need to be placed at shelters, to be placed in that long-term transitional housing is what that apartment building is. And what we're looking at is people that have already been making progress through immediate shelter. Some of them are going through some programs that are working on their employability or unifying their families. So we have a team from behavioral health and public health that and OHAPP working together to identify the list of occupants. The other thing I'd like to add is recently the Guam Police Department and the Department of Public Works have been working with the owners of vacant properties that have been utilized by squatters and working to clean that street up and making sure that the derelict buildings, which are not only a public nuisance but public safety concerns, are going to be resolved by the time that that neighborhood facility comes up. But I just wanted to add that on. I think Liz Napoli had wanted to add on. Liz?
Yes, I wanted to have Kathy Titano speak on what happened when the Tumuni shelter closed and the assistance that was being provided to the families that were there so that they wouldn't be out on the street. So I'd like to have Kathy give an update on that.
Hello again. So when the shelter closed on October 31, this was a two-part process. The shelter facility itself closed. The individuals who were in shelter were notified. Actually, it was 2 months ahead because we managed to get them extended for 1 additional month. The case management continues for those individuals. That is ongoing, and housing is still being identified and individuals are still being placed. Most currently, we have three elderly persons who are in their applications are in process, and they will be housed soon. And for the record, they're not on the street. There was a very we're very grateful to the efforts of the OHAPP and Director Ariola in being able to find an interim placement for those folks. But they will be housed very soon. We've actually identified the units. We're in that's how far into the process we are.
And Kathy, just
that's-
for Polly to know,
Yeah.
the landowner or the property owner did not want to continue the rental agreement that we had with them. So there were, I think that for sure we wanted to have more time for some units so that we could be able to place people once rather than twice, maybe, in terms of because
Right.
people are in interim shelters.
Mhm.
But the property owner did not want to continue the agreement, and that shelter that was open for several years, actually,
At least
maybe
2
more than
years.
2 years, 3
At
years,
least.
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are quite a number of people that went through that shelter, which was managed by Catholic Social Services at that time. And there are a large number of folks that ended up reuniting with family members and ended up getting placements with their extended families.
They found that as a method. They found themselves teaming up and choosing to be roommates. There was quite a bit, but when it came right down to it, we were seriously concerned about those that were most vulnerable, those that required special medical equipment on a daily basis, those that were elderly. It was a challenge, but the case management stood up and has been and will continue. We are actually continuing to fund the case manager, and we intend to through March of this year. If there's a need, we will look into any kind of an extension to them, but they've been making very good progress since October.
I think that's what I wanted to go right into. Be my last question is, with only the one homeless shelter, Guma San Jose, running, do you have a backlog of people living on the streets today that are waiting to get into these homeless shelters? And that's my last question.
Yeah, and actually, maybe, Polly, I'd say there's more than those shelters, right? Because both GURA, public health, behavioral health, those are the three dominant agencies, and youth affairs, in a smaller way, all fund shelter programs with nonprofits. So, as an example, the sanctuary facility up at Chalampago has contracts with public health, behavioral health, and the courts and DYA, depending on the need of the child. So we have Guma Mami, which is funded also through government funds. That shelter supports individuals with certain kinds of disabilities. We have nonprofits that receive direct funding support for shelter for abused women and children, families. that are escaping danger. That also is another of the shelters that's funded. We have some senior shelters and, of course, senior housing that is funded from both public health and Agura. A lot of placements happen at Guam Housing Corporation in their rental units, supported by different kinds of funds. And then we also, of course, then have the ones that you think about, the Guma San Jose, the ones that almost have a general population. Catholic Social Services also receives funding support. They have a men's shelter that is in the village also that they utilize. And it's been our experience that a lot of the shelters are backed up, which means that people that may be on waiting list trying to get in, there's a delay. So the emergence of the transitional housing for Anigua in many ways came out of and initially came out from some consultation we had with members of the Homeless Coalition that want to be able to take care of the short-term shelter needs, but also have people that are stabilized that need maybe longer support for transitional housing. So I think that Rob should have with the coalition or can generate kind of like what our inventory of
That would be
the
great.
different shelters supported.
That would be great. And so I guess in the meantime, while I work with Director Rob, is it so if I was to share this information today on the radio, I would just direct people to the Guam Homeless Coalition website so that they can reach out to these shelters to receive assistance?
I think they could reach out directly with Catholic Social Service. They have their own processing for individuals who are seeking shelter, and they'll need to bring their documents over there directly. So I'd say Catholic Social Services, there. Who else has programs, rental, and emergency rental programs, or not?
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army and Manyetlu both have some grants for that. And
some of them are funded from that continuum of care grant that is connected to the PIT count that we talked about earlier. But I would tell you, Paulie, that do I feel that we have sufficient shelter options? We still do not have sufficient shelter options. I also tell you that many people that you see in the street homeless have violated shelter rules and have been terminated from shelters by the operators. So I think one of the things that we confront that kind of is, it's almost kind of like a good example of, what the Attorney General has been talking about in some on his side for panhandling. We have each case is different. And we have folks, unfortunately, that are having, some mental health, substance abuse issues. We have some people that are not prepared or resist shelter. We actually have people that have been eligible for placement that they do not want to take shelter because, Mayor Hoffman and others can chime in, they don't want to follow the shelter rules. For example, there is no alcohol that is allowed in shelters. If there is a violent episode, if somebody commits assault in a shelter, they're going to be kicked out of the shelter because they want to protect the people elsewhere in the shelter. So, that's been my experience as we continue to, address, right? But I would tell you that I still feel that we're in the midst of aligning and bringing online places. The bed for the night in Tamuning is a critical piece because there are people that, that maybe they might be on the naughty list of Santa on a shelter and they're not going to be able to get, or maybe they're not looking for a long-term, but bed for the night will also mean showers. We also mean that we would be able to do some health screening there, including both from the public health side and the behavioral health side to try and help. But sometimes, unfortunately, some of the street homeless that we see, including some of the panhandlers we see, are refusing shelter services, or some have been kicked out of shelters because of violations. Robert, I don't know, do you have anything to add on that? Mayor Hoffman or anybody?
I think Kathy. One of the things maybe, Polly, is that I'd like Kathy to speak more about one of the annual grant fundings that we get every year is for the Emergency Solutions Grant. And the Emergency Solution Grant funding goes out to a lot of our partner NGOs who provide the services that are needed by persons that are homeless or at risk of homelessness. And so, Kathy, can you elaborate more on that grant funding, which helps a lot of the homeless and at risk of homeless?
Yes, I can. But just to back up one step before that, even then, Miss Liz, the Guam Homeless Coalition is an excellent example of how we can get the word out to different organizations to provide information to anybody who might need it. It's an element of a no wrong door plan, wherein if you go to a nonprofit who has, who is known to assist the homeless, they are networked into the Guam Homeless Coalition, and that gives them access to different services and a continuum of care. We may be seeing backups in the shelters, but we're also seeing backups in the shelters because we need a way for them to graduate out of the shelter. And that is where the transitional housing that is going to be stood up by OHAPP is going to play a significant role. People don't all need to start at the shelter level. Many of them come in through different avenues. The funding that Ms. Liz is talking about is the Emergency Solutions Grant. That funding is there, and we provide it to organizations who actually find direct assistance to put people into housing, not stopping through the transition and the other levels. You go from street homeless to sheltered homeless to transitional housing to permanent housing. It doesn't have to. If they get appropriate case management, which also we try to fund and support, those folks can be assisted while in permanent housing. So there are lots of different doors, and there are lots of different needs and different levels of need. We actually, one of the programs that is funded under the continuum of care is a chronically homeless housing, permanent housing. We try, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, we try not to have to move people around and move them from shelter to shelter to shelter. If we can provide an opportunity for the appropriate level of case management and social care, social worker care, these folks can thrive while not being moved from place to place. But yes, we're very much in support of being able to provide those connected services through the Guam Homeless Coalition and the funding that is available through the continuum of care, and even locally through the programs out of the Department of Public Health and others. There are a lot of shelters who are stood up by funding that is provided to the entities that do the outreach on a regular, weekly, monthly basis. And it's only through that network and concerted effort of everyone together that we're making real progress in this, in this issue with homelessness.
All right.
Thank you.
And Joe Tatino, anything from you?
Morning, everyone. Polly asked all the questions that were on my mind. I would also be interested in that data on, anybody who's on a potential backlog from Mr. St. Augustine. But one thing real quick, LT, I think you had mentioned that GPD was also helping to address, some of the different homelessness encampments. And I know near the Anigua shelter, there's a very substantial one, and I think it's an orange-colored building. It's a multi-story complex. Is that on the list? And what is being done about that particular building? Because it's right down the street.
So that building, but I expect, so let me tell you where my outcome I'm looking at. I expect that to be a very clean street, and there shall not be any salacious activity going on, right? So there has been some concerns about suspected illegal activity also happening in those areas. And Public Works several times had issued notice of violation to the owners. Now, the owners needed some assistance, quite frankly, because of some of the safety concerns. And so maybe I know that the police have been on site over there. And Rob, maybe you could give us some feedback. And I'm not sure that what's currently happening, but that building, there's two buildings there. After they're cleared, or they should be boarded up and secured. And the property owner, I believe, is going to do that. There'll be a certain period of time, and if they don't, then we will utilize the statute to secure it, and then expect that the property owners would have to end up paying us back for that. But I think Rob has a real-time update on that.
Sure. So GPD did go over there, let anyone know who was in the building that they had to be removed. And so we did some outreach on that. The occupants left, and then DPW did have a dumpster there in front. We're cleaning out the building. Driving by yesterday, the building is boarded up now, so access has been restricted. And then we'll just keep monitoring it to make sure the safety is still upkept there. Make sure that's not, broken into again, and returning back to the prior condition.
I hope, Joe, I hope that the property owner, or maybe business people, and as a last course, us in the government. But I think the bones on those buildings look pretty good. There's a housing need. Would love to see those buildings get renovated, so that we can have people be able to occupy them. But I guess first step is complete, and according to Rob, the real time is that they have been vacated by those that have been squatting or occupants.
Thanks for that update. And
Though I want to emphasize, we want that to be a very safe, vibrant place for our families, especially our children that are now getting some stability in their lives. Yeah.
Thank you. My other question real quick was, regarding the purchase of the soup kitchen. I don't know if it was, I'm sorry if it was mentioned earlier, but what was the dollar cost on that acquisition?
I don't recall exactly. We will never pay more than market value. I can provide that
But
to
you can provide that to PDN.
I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Understood, no worries. And I know there was I was actually talking to Lester Carlson about this yesterday. There was like a $645,000 bid out on some church properties. Is there anything else that we're currently bidding on from the bankruptcy properties?
Well, I need to get the chief of staff to get the properties, but I'll tell you that for me, I have received a request from village mayors that were concerned about village recreational sites that were actually on the list. And I know, for example, that there's a baseball field in Talofofo, basketball court in Interagency, were all church properties that the community had been utilizing that went up. So definitely, there are at least a couple of them I know, efforts that we're supporting with DPR and the mayors to secure those properties for the villagers to continue to have as recreation, and they would be assigned to either DPR or the mayors. But I think it's probably best for us to get back to you on the list, because I'm not aware of all of them. But that would be the criteria, Joe, is if the facility is being utilized for the community, especially youth programs, then for sure those are things that we want to secure for the community.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that information. I know there's a list online. I could probably cross-check that also.
Yes.
I know there's a few different places where people wouldn't expect them to be. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. All right. I know that we ran over a little time, but thank you everybody for your attendance, and thank you for continuing to
Did he freeze?
I hope so.
For the Housing Summit, please attend the Housing Summit, very important. If no other questions, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
You have the pit count meeting.